Today's video, we're gonna talk about lookalike versus open targeting on Facebook/Meta ad. Which is best, okay? So there isn't a situation where one is always better over the other because it depends on your niche. And I'm gonna give you example niches where we ran Facebook campaigns where one actually worked better over the other to give you an idea for your niche what's actually gonna work the best instead of just saying it depends. And I hate when people do that. I'm sure you do as well. So the pros and cons of each of these I'm gonna go over, and then that'll explain why the one is actually gonna work better for you over the other in your niche as well. When you're trying to become an excellent advertiser for your business and make millions of dollars doing it, you have to understand how and why things work, not just get the formula from the guru and that's it, because the real results come when you understand how to tweak it and dial it in for your business specifically and get all the results instead of just most of it or some of it. So I will give you a lesson on how these basically work because how it works is very important for you to make all the money. I will get into the content here. So I'm gonna start with lookalikes targeting, how this physically works on a fundamental or technical level. And then of course, I'll get into the open targeting and then why one works better over the other. So for that matter, this is not going to be a simplistic explanation like you're gonna find in other videos. I'm actually gonna go through in detail how this stuff actually works. To start with lookalikes targeting, you're actually using a seed list and the traits of the people on your seed list in order to get the results on your ad campaigns. You're essentially showing to Facebook/Meta ads, here is 10,000 people. I want you to identify which traits among all 10,000 of these people are the most common so I could start advertising to those people. And you may find out that people who like to buy swimwear also like snowboarding. And they also more commonly like fast food. And what happens is if you understand how probability works, when you add up these individual traits that might make a buyer only 2 or 3 times more likely to buy than another buyer, when you take 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, you actually end up with a much smaller audience that's a lot more likely to buy from you. And that's what Facebook's doing. They have all their users profiled and categorized and cataloged, who they are, what they are, and they will track thousands of traits on individual users like that. And so when you upload, whether directly through a customer list or actually looking at the site visitors that go to your site, they're going to look at the 10,000 traits that they have on each user individually, and then they'll correlate that all together to find the most common traits there that match all those people. And then once they've done that, then they now understand where to have your ad show up in the future. If you didn't know how to do it or how this worked in the past, that's how lookalikes targeting works. This works great now with big lists, that is like 10,000 or more visits a month to the site or 10,000 or more members on your email list itself. And that is findable or where you have an actual match. If you're uploading emails, you may only get 50% of them to match up, so that'd be 5K. 10K plus matches is where the results with lookalike targeting really gets good. Why? Because machine learning does well with larger volumes of data. So you can upload a list of 1,000 customers and do a lookalike campaign from that. Your results are gonna vary a lot, and just in general, it's just not gonna be good, or at least better than doing either open targeting or actual custom targeting, which I'm gonna talk about in a minute as well, just as a side. For that matter, if you're gonna do lookalikes, only do it, practically speaking, when you have enough data, okay? Just trust me on that. Apart from that, lookalikes targeting, it's more useful in obscure niches. So if you are selling something that, because take a step backwards here, what Facebook does when they categorize and catalog all their users, they are trying to figure out what people are in market for at any given time. But there are only so many categories that they put a buyer into. 10,000 or so different in-market categories. So if you are selling something that is really like a micro niche thing where, let's say you're selling gold cell phone cases, and this is something that, of course, very few people buy. In that situation, what you end up having to do, instead of just targeting people that Facebook know are gold phone case buyers because the niche is too small, you target people that have the traits of a gold phone case buyer itself. So if you have 10,000 people a month coming to your website, they'll look at all the traits that of a person who does buy versus doesn't buy that makes them unique. Maybe they also like buying gold rings or what have you, and of which they have data on themselves already for that niche. So then at that point in time, they know how to narrow down your ads fairly well. Whereas with open targeting, when you do that, given that that is primarily working on keyword-based targeting, keywords that are in your ads, keywords that are in your landing pages, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And when you put that you're offering a gold cell phone case on your ad, Facebook's saying, I don't really have a category for this. So they don't know how to get you in front of people who are in market for a phone case itself, which is where Facebook ads works the best, right? Because if you sell protein powder with open targeting and then putting you in that category, basically all they have to do is find all the people that advertise on Facebook right now and have a pixel on their website that already sell protein powder. When anybody goes to any of those competitor sites and that person's on Facebook, they now have your ad show for that person to see if they're interested in your brand or flavor of protein powder. Ultimately that's what they're doing. They're just going to rotate all the protein powder guys' ads out. Once you've been to one protein powder website, they're going to start showing all the other ads from all the other protein powder companies to try to find one that's going to work for that user, and then they buy. And then it's just a matter of, are you more appealing than the other companies or are you not? But again, they only have so many categories of businesses to follow you under. So if you're doing the gold cell phone case, there's no niche for that product. So at that point in time, lookalikes targeting can be better because they can go deeper. Who buys a phone case? Even though with open targeting occasionally it can still do better because they can actually search conversations on Facebook through Facebook Instant Messenger, WhatsApp itself. They can also, if you've got a Facebook app installed on your phone, it can spy on you. They can actually see if you've talked about gold phone cases in the past and then select to have your ad show up for that person, which they're going to try to do. The problem is you're basically probably not going to talk about a gold phone case like that very often, and not enough to run a scalable ad campaign. So the lookalikes targeting then in that case is better, at least if you have the volume of data. If you don't have the volume of data, then you have to go with custom targeting, which is a whole separate thing I'm going to talk about as well. And then lookalikes targeting is great for where competitor lists exist. So nothing really works better than finding a list of your competitors' customers, uploading that list to Facebook, letting the lookalike algorithm study it, and then have your ad show up for people that have those traits. More so if you are in a business where there's repeat business. So if you sell women's plus size clothing, if you could get your hands on the list of your direct competitors' customers, then all you got to do is just take that list, upload it to Facebook, say, I want to get in front of these people, and then I want to expand it by a separate campaign, people that look like these customers, and you'll actually do really well already. That should be, by the way, your absolute direct goal to do that in any business where people buy more than once or likely to buy more than once or can buy more than once. Because, have Facebook try to figure out on their own how to get you a customer when you can find the exact customer, exact competitor that competes against you that has the same price point or similar price point and similar style as you. Because you could be like, okay, this is our closest competitor or closest competitor's item. We're going to go after people that are already buying that item itself. Or people that are considering that item, if you were to, for whatever reason, get a lead list, such as if you were able to get a lead list from a trade show where somebody was interested in buying, gold bullion, then you could actually use that as a lookalikes itself. And you're going to get in front of those same people and then also people that look like those people. If you're wondering where you get a competitor's list like that, well, you can of course reach out to the competitor through a no-name company. You could say, hey, I'm a data broker. I'm wondering if you want to sell your names. We'll pay $1 a name for your customer list. It's an extra free, 10 grand for you or 50 grand for you. And then a lot of times they'll be dumb enough to do it. Or you go through a data broker itself. If you're in a mainstream enough niche, then you go to a company like Nextmark mailing list, which you can search up and type in, like plus size ladies clothing into the search bar there via their search engine for mailing lists. You find a list on there that's being sold either through a third-party data broker or the company itself. And then you take the email list from there, you lease or rent the list, you upload it to Facebook that way itself. Those are the two main ways that you do it. my default, again, is going to be to try to get my competitors list if I'm in a market where people buy regularly or more than once. If it's just people that buy one-offs, then I'm not going to, necessarily obviously worry about that. And I'm going to try to go with open targeting unless I have at least 10,000 people a month going to my website already itself, or have at least 10,000 customers for Google or Facebook to look at, so that the lookalikes targeting can actually work properly itself. In a lot of occasions, by the way, as well, we'll run heavy Google ads first, get that to work first, while building up our pixel. And then once we get over the 10,000 a month threshold, then we're going to run our lookalikes campaign on Facebook, given that it's well seeded enough for it to actually work. That is, if we're in a more obscure niche where open targeting won't work. So getting into open targeting, though, when you are in a mainstream niche, open targeting is the way to go. Because, like I mentioned before, essentially what you're doing or getting into here is you put an ad there that says, this is the best baseball bat for sale. Would you like to buy it? Facebook's going to be like, oh, this is a baseball bat company. We're going to get you in front of all the people that are contemplating buying a baseball bat in the recent past or currently, by understanding all other baseball bat sellers that have a pixel on their website already, and then get in front of all those people that have been to any of those baseball bat competitors' websites. Your ad's going to show, or interacted with the baseball bat in the past, or interacted with the baseball bat fan page in the past. You get the general idea. So open targeting isn't just showing your ad to everybody. It's, which you can have an ad that says we have a great baseball bat, and if more than 1% of the population buys baseball bats, that can already be good enough. I call that the 1% rule. But if there at least 1% of the people in the general public don't buy for whatever you sell, then you do itself. You got to be more precise with your targeting, generally to make your ads profitable after expenses. And you put, though, in the open targeting ad that you offer baseball bat, Facebook's automatically going to narrow that targeting down and get you in front of the people that are currently talking about buying a baseball bat via Facebook or instant messenger or on WhatsApp and the like. And they also buy data from third parties to enhance the data set and the users they have on their platform as well, to know in real time what people are interested in. So before I go further here as well, this information is changing. How Facebook works, how Google works, all these ad platforms is changing all the time. And the real good money is staying ahead of it, or getting to be out in front of these different strategies where they start working before everybody piles in. And also just staying away from the stuff that doesn't work anymore or doesn't work in general. A lot of times Google and Facebook say stuff works, they're just picking your pocket. There's no better source of getting that specific no BS information than on this channel. So I highly encourage you to subscribe to this channel, because I'm living it and doing it at our agency 40 hours a week on dozens of ad accounts, find out what's actually working. So subscribe if you haven't already. Furthermore, check out my blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog. The blog has step-by-step information on how to actually execute strategies we know work at our firm for clients to guarantee the results. We have to get results for our clients before we get paid. And you want to know how we can do that where other firms can't, nor would do that, then you just simply go to the blog and see the strategies we're using, because it's there. Given that a lot of them just nobody will use because they're too lazy to do them, all that information is there. So if you like the channel, check the blog out as well. If you have any questions about anything I'm covering here, by the way, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. It can be any marketing related question for that matter. I don't care really what you're asking about. I'm here to help and serve the community. And I've got 20 years of experience to be able to answer your questions as well. So with open targeting, going further into that, there's no need to have lots of traffic to your site with open targeting. I mean, you could open up shop today, put your ad for, saying that you offer gold coins, and Facebook's already going to know how to get you a customer, which is great. It's keyword-based targeting. They're scanning the ad, they're scanning the landing page on your website to see what it is that you're selling. And then from there, they find the category of people that most closely relevant to and pertains to what you're selling. So there might be 50,000 product categories that they put you into, or service categories. They find the one that's relevant to your business, and now they start showing your ad to all the people that are in market for that item Okay, that's the premise of it. This won't work for obscure niches. I already went through this. If you're selling the gold phone case thing, I gave that scenario. There's no gold phone case categories. It's too small. And then open targeting is not going to be the best thing. And then furthermore, it won't work for tapping into non-in-market buyers itself. So what I mean by this is, if you are in market for buying a electric toothbrush, so to say, right? You are going to talk about the electric toothbrush. So they know you're in market for that. You don't talk about that for fun, generally speaking. However, in a lot of situations, that's limiting. There's only so many people talking about buying an electric toothbrush or going to a website that a Facebook pixel is on that Facebook can pick up that you're in market for an electric toothbrush by itself. You could do all that first, but if you're going to make the bigger money, you need to understand the traits that make up a person that lends them to be a good candidate or essentially increases the probability of somebody wanting to buy as opposed to the general public. So as, somebody who is apt to want to buy diet pills, if you will, this is a person who is also obviously over a certain amount of weight and also probably, in general, let's just say, we'll keep it simple, generally overweight, right? So instead of targeting people that are looking for diet pills, which would be the easy low-hanging fruit, we do that first, we make our money, we reinvest that into try to expanding and go broader. The next thing you do is go after and you find out the traits of the people that people have that normally turn into a customer. For lookalikes targeting, you could do this by just having your pixel on your site and you have enough traffic to your site. If you don't have enough traffic, then you got to figure this out on your own. And the best way to do that is to either survey your customers or, read your competitors' reviews. Or if you have, let's say, 1,000 customers, not tens of thousands, you could take that minimal list you have and at least go to a data broker like Axiom itself, and they'll tell you the most common traits of those people that essentially match up with your customer list. You find out, okay, people that buy the diet pills, they're over at least 30 pounds overweight. You then utilize that to then target your ads, if you will, even though there's no default targeting option itself on Facebook for this, but you can upload a email list of people that are at least 30 pounds overweight that you get through a company like Nextmark mailing lists, or you go ahead and you use a company like LiveRamp itself, which will allow you to import really fine-tuned audiences like this itself as well. Or, there's other companies as well. Experian offers data lists like this. And then you can, instead of just targeting the general world, if you will, or just people that are interested in diet pills by itself, which is very limited, you go after people who are overweight, which makes them, 20 times more likely to buy if they're over XYZ pounds or whatever. You find that out. And so in that particular case, where you essentially need to expand out of open targeting, you need to start figuring more out about your users and your buyers. Just to give you a direct example of this in the real world, how we've done this in the past, we had a mailbox company where we sold high-end mailboxes. We of course figured out all the basics, people that do that, through, just uploading our customer list to Google, which by the way, when you do that, they'll give you data on in-market segments that match your customer list and people that have been to your site that is as well. Also affinity segments. We found out that people that buy these mailboxes are often, the bigger mailboxes, they're often higher income. They're also buying the mailboxes when they're in the process of renovating their home. It makes it much more likely that they're going to become a customer. So with that information, which we got it through Google in this case, instead of going to a company like Axiom to get it, we now understand that we need to target people that are basically in the process of doing an interior renovation. So we could get this list through, maybe we can go through Facebook's custom targeting, and there's a targeted option there by default that says, in planning interior decoration itself, which wasn't the case, which is why if all you're going to do is limit yourself to Facebook audiences by default, you're going to only make so much money. You go to a third party and you get information about people looking to do an interior renovation, which ultimately reveal that when you start to inquire about new curtains and contact an interior designer, that type of thing. We get that data list, we upload it to Facebook, and then now we can target everybody who's planning an interior renovation, which is less than 1% of the population. This is 0.1% of the population, but out of the 400 people in the US, and then actually 40 million of that are high income enough to actually be a good candidate for our product. We take that 40 million and walk it down to like 40,000, somewhere in there. And those are the 40,000 people that we actually want to market to. So with that said, we get in front of people who are just almost as good as prospects as somebody actually looking for mailboxes in the recent past. And Facebook's got pinned down that these are in-market mailbox buyers. We double our sales or more. In this case, it was more actually, because we understood who's the most likely candidate to buy that's not outright deliberately looking for a mailbox. Because the key thing there being, just to cement all this together, people doing interior renovation often aren't looking to buy a mailbox, but if they were presented with a cool mailbox idea, a new trendy design, they're open to it. Why? Because they have a budget already set aside for their interior design project. So if you're gonna tell me that I could spend part of my budget and actually get this versus this, I'm gonna for it. But if you hit me with that when I wasn't having a budget set aside, then I wouldn't be open to it, so to say. So, and I could give you tons of examples of this. Ultimately, like if you're a wedding planner, the best thing to do, be able to target somebody who wants to hire a wedding planner, would be to, as soon as possible, get in front of somebody who said that they were engaged, if you will, because you only have a small window of time. So you get access to third-party services, even though you can target people who say they're engaged on Facebook, but it's not as good as getting a third-party audience where somebody actually starts to inquire about actual like wedding dresses, some of the stuff that you would typically do first, the very first of the process. Then you use that as your audience and you target people that way, versus just doing the engaged audience. And then 80, 90% of them that you get in front of are people that already picked a wedding planner and it's too late already. So you could use these outside audiences to get a profitable campaign going, given that it's not a matter of if it will work, if you have a good offer, good ad. It's just a matter of how far do you have to drill down your targeting to get to an ROI that's going to be profitable, given that every person that sees your ad that is not a good prospect chips into your ROI. So that's the deal with open targeting, where specifically shines and where lookalikes targeting shines. So in general though, typically you would want to do both. You start with open targeting because it's more precise, despite the name. Then you're going to do your lookalikes targeting itself. With the exception being that unless you had a huge customer list and a huge amount of traffic to your site, maybe you just skip open targeting because it's kind of like redundant. But for that matter, there are some situations where neither one of these are the right answer here. And, by the way, before you jump into this, your best bet would be to ask me what works for your niche in a private conversation. If you reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com, I'll do a coaching call or consulting call with you and I'll let you know. Or if you need, of course, some help with a client, I could be the person that you ask first. You don't have to waste time and money and your reputation finding out something doesn't work when I could have told you in 2 seconds what you needed to know and you didn't have to waste time with it. I also offer, full-on done-for-you services where we'll guarantee you results on your ad campaign, doing it the way that we know works. If you're interested in that, you can reach out to me and I can give you a projection of your results under our management and what we can guarantee for you, because we don't take fees up front unless we get you a certain minimum amount of results. Reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com if you're interested in that. I also have ad templates available. So if we're in your niche market or a market that you want to enter, you can literally buy, what works in another city or country than you, that in terms of a client that we've served in the past, we can tell you the results we got for it. And then with that, of course, you could know what you would stand to gain buying the template of ads and all that work for your niche market or a market that you're interested in. Given that we've probably spent years already optimizing and testing to find out the best campaign funnel that works for your market on a bunch of different platforms. So for that matter, there are times where open and lookalikes targeting isn't the right option. Then you got to get into custom targeting. This is typically when you have an obscure niche with a poor seed list itself. So you're selling the gold iPhone cases, but you're just starting out. You have no people coming to your website or very, very few. In that situation, you want custom targeting, and you're going to use either Facebook's default audiences to get you close starting out. So maybe you're in that gold iPhone case situation, you target people who are interested in, they're fashionista type people, that kind of thing. And that's not really that targeted, so you typically wouldn't want to do that. Better would be somebody who buys phone cases regularly itself. So, you actually tap into a customer list that you get from a phone case store and somebody who's bought more than one phone case, and you upload that to the platform and you just target those people, if you will. And given that, lookalikes targeting isn't going to be as efficient as targeting that competitor list itself, you got to go that route, at least at first. But in addition to that, if you're in an obscure niche and you don't have a poured seed list, but also the customer prospect typically doesn't do much research beforehand before buying a product in your category or talk about it, also custom targeting is going to be your way to go because, just to give you an example of this, we had a client who sells custom travel cases. For that matter, if you're going to look for a custom, let's say, this isn't the exact niche, I can't give you the exact niche, but let's say it's custom camera bags, okay? When you're going to look for a camera bag, it's not an expensive item. We're talking $30, $40, $50 for a camera bag. You're not going to really talk to your friends about camera bags. You're not going to bring it up in discussion. You're also probably not going to be browsing online for camera bags for 5 days while you're thinking it over. You're going to go ahead and you're going to say, I need a camera bag. Some people will come back to the website later and buy, but you're probably going to say, I need a camera bag. I'm going to look around for about 30 minutes and I'm going to pick one I'm going to buy. In that case, the window of time that you have to market to somebody where they reveal that they are an in-market buyer at the time where it's too late to get in front of them is so small that you don't really have an option to do open targeting. And if you don't have enough traffic to your site or customers yet to do lookalikes targeting to find out what traits make a person who buys that custom camera bag customer makes them unique to target them on a secondary level, that is people not directly interested in the camera bag itself, but have traits that match up with people who are interested in camera bags in general in the past for you. Then you do custom targeting, because that's the best option in that particular case, which is a market, like I said, we were in. And then the best thing we did there, the obvious thing to do was if we're selling a custom camera bag for an expensive Canon camera, we're going to target all the people who bought a custom Canon camera of that certain model number, get access to that list from third-party companies that we can partner with to get access to their customer data, import that into Facebook, and then now our Facebook ads are super targeted. If we didn't mess around trying to do, open targeting itself, given that it just isn't going to be effective in that case. So that's a great example where neither one of these are going to be the best answer for you. Long-term, this is your best answer because it's going to give you the biggest spread. You're going to get the most sales out of it. It just ain't going to be very accurate at the beginning. It's going to waste a ton of time and more so money. Whereas if you start with the open targeting, it's going to be more efficient up front, but less volume potential. And same thing with the custom targeting itself. So you almost can think about like if you didn't have any other ads running anywhere else and you just started out on Facebook, you run with custom targeting or open targeting until you get enough data to run the lookalikes, then it really blows up. Or you could start out with Google ads because you could target people on a hyper individualized level, people looking for custom camera bags on Google search, but also on YouTube. Build your company up that way, then you have what you need to do the lookalikes targeting. So you don't have to go and find, for instance, and work with camera sellers to get their customer list to serve as your targeting option inside Facebook to make the Facebook ads work. For that matter, there's all kinds of crafty stuff you can do, particularly when you get into list-based targeting with Facebook. If you're not selling a mainstream item and it's more of a custom thing, that's really just not going to work marketing it to the masses. I'm very good at this. We've done this dozens of times now. We run, millions in ad spend every month for sure. At this time, I got tons of experience. Our team has tons of experience. They work directly underneath me. We could come in and install ourselves in your business and run all these ads for yourself. And you could do that by partnering with us directly. I've been partnering with companies, in addition to working for companies on a monthly retainer basis, we've been partnering with the best companies that we find are the best opportunity. And we come in, we not only run all your ads, but we throw tens of thousands of dollars of ad spend at your site to market and get your ads going stronger or in general. And then we say to the company, as long as you're willing to pay us, let's say 3% of your sales growth moving forward, we'll do everything else. And then if you, of course, are making money, we'll devote a certain percentage of your increase in revenue back into more ad spend and keep the thing going. But we'll get it all kickstarted for you, absolutely, off our backs, with our dime. And we'll grow the sales. And ultimately, you don't have to pay anything unless your sales go up, period. If you want that kind of a deal, we're looking for companies to invest in right now, of which to add to our roster of companies we've invested in. Reach out to me at GuaranteedPPC.com if you're interested in this. You got to have a great product or service that's a leader in the category, functional-wise itself, not a me-too product. But if you have that, you think it's got everything but advertising figured out, we want to work with you. Reach out to me at GuaranteedPPC.com if you're interested in that. I also have a brand new, or semi-brand new, I should say, group that I started, a Discord group where you can talk amongst not only myself, but all the other guys that watch this channel here. We're talking about the advanced strategies I talk about on this channel and other ways that we're making money there. You can find the link to the Discord group in the video description. There's a free course in there that I offer just as a thank you for entering the group and joining it, where I take you through from start to finish how to set up a PPC campaign that makes money for your business, the way we do it for clients at our firm. But with that said, I'm going to wrap everything up with that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.